Kip, what's up, man? So great to see you this Monday morning. Looking forward to getting after some questions today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Always a privilege, always fun. And we have quite a bit of new guys into the Iron Council submitting questions today. And it's always good to see these guys contributing and getting after it, because the way I see it is these questions, these aren't just made up, right? These are questions that someone is mulling over, they're having a difficult time with, and they want to address it. And so these are, when you really think about it, it's like, man, what we're talking about, whether we're right or not, the idea of the conversation and someone wrestling with these things is super critical. And this is exactly what men need.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why this is so powerful, man. Not only just Order Man in general, but the Iron Council. We're closed, but we will be open in a couple of months. And I really think that if you could whittle it down to two things that a man needs more in his life that generally I don't think we have enough of is a network of other like-minded men that we can rely and count on, and two, that we have a framework, systems that are proven to work that we can just plug into. Sometimes with my personality, I'm a little stubborn, I'm a little hard-headed, and so sometimes I want to reinvent the wheel. No, not me.
No, I've never
I want to
noticed that
like
trait of you.
reinvent the wheel at times, but I've noticed if I just plug into a system that's proven to work, it saves time, it saves energy, and it actually produces results as opposed to just kind of a crapshoot with other ways I think, might work. So I think there's a time and a
Totally.
place for experimentation, but I also think there's a time and place to just to tap into what works.
Totally. Or don't reinvent the wheel, tap into what works, and then evolve it beyond that and add to it at a more rapid rate than just creating something from scratch.
Well, I mean, even if look, we talk about this quite often, but in jujitsu, you have to learn the rules and you have to learn the basics. But once you learn the basics, like I watch you roll, you experiment, you're trying new things, but you can only do that because you have a foundation of what works and what doesn't, and then you build on that to experiment. So both have their their
Yeah.
their part to play in the appropriate order.
Yeah, absolutely. Way to throw the Jits reference in there. All right.
Early, man. We
We're
did
going
it
to
early
field.
too.
I know, just get it out of the door. All right. We're going to field questions from the Iron Council. Question number one, Paul Stoneman. This is one leftover from last week. If you don't mind me throwing this in, this was good.
Yeah, let's get it.
Specific examples from you, Mr. Ryan and Kip, on how IC has positively impacted your lives. What goals has the IC helped you achieve? How did the IC help you achieve said goals? What was your life situation like prior to creating the Iron Council? I realize I'm talking about the founder as well as a longstanding member of the Iron Council, but perhaps you have some recent examples of maybe you have had some tremendous overcome tremendous success over the years that you could share with us and people that are not within the Iron Council. Jeez.
All right, hold on a second, Kip. Is
All
that
right.
is that due to
Editor,
you
start
reading
over.
that, or is that the way that the question was written? Help me
I don't
understand,
know. It's
because
probably me. It's probably me.
okay, all right. Well, we can talk about that later then. But geez, almighty. All right.
Slaughterfest. Okay.
Yeah. So here's a recent example. A lot of people know I went through my divorce, and what I've noticed is that to talk about the previous topic that we were addressing,
Yeah.
you have a framework, and just because you have a framework doesn't mean that it's automatically going to work if you're not utilizing it correctly. And I wasn't, I was utilizing elements of it, but we all deviate from time to time. It's wild to me.
Cool.
And I'm not casting stones. We all do this, myself included, that we know what works and we see results, and then you experience the results, and then you deviate from what got you
Sabotage.
there. You see this a
Yeah.
lot in sports. You see teams that, run a really good offense or run a really good defense or a specific series of plays that works really well. And they get to the playoffs and they do something completely different. Why would you do that? Stick with what works. And so I've noticed for myself, when I deviate from the framework, from the network, then I stray and I start doing my own thing, and I don't have any accountability built into my life. But when I went through my divorce and came announced publicly about my battles with alcohol addiction and abuse, I got back to the system. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't, I
Yeah.
wish I could tell you. sometimes I wish like the marketer in me says, oh, make this sound better than it really is. But all of that's bullcrap, guys. I can tell people will do that to you, and they'll tell you how great and wonderful and all your wildest dreams will come true if you buy this product. And it's like, it's shampoo. All right. It's not going to do that big of a
Yeah.
deal. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Well, frankly, the Iron Council is not that big of a deal either. It really isn't. It's not a miracle pill. It's not a wonder drug. It's not going to
It's not an
solve
easy
all your
button.
problems.
Yeah.
It's just having access to men who have already raised their hand and said, I want to be successful and I want to help other people be successful. And I need a system to do it. I could strip all the marketing stuff away from it, and that's it. And it's worth it for those reasons. So when I tapped back into the battle plan, started being accountable, started to track all of my progress or lack thereof at the time, is when I got back on the path. I mean, this is very simple stuff. And people say, well, it's simple, it's not easy. No, it's easy. It's really easy. Like, don't overcomplicate it. I don't like that phrase anymore. It's simple, not easy. It's all easy. If you tell yourself it's
We make
hard,
it hard. Yeah.
yeah. If you tell yourself, oh, it's not simple, it's not easy. Well, what are you telling your brain? You're telling your brain that it's hard, that there's challenges, there's obstacles. Not everybody can do this. You have to overcome all these things. No, you don't. Really, what you need to do is you just need to get up in the morning when your alarm goes off. You need to get some fluids in your body, go through your little morning ritual, go to the gym, work out, get a trainer, go on YouTube, figure it out in a program. It's not hard. It's easy. It's all
Rinse and
easy.
repeat.
Yep.
Yeah. Totally.
That's not a specific answer, but it is what it is. Like, it's just do it.
Yeah.
Just do the system.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll share. I mean, I have many similar examples of where I've benefited, but for Paul's question, I think for me, probably the biggest thing, and I do see this, I'm not the only one. In fact, I would love your thoughts on this, Ryan, how prominent you think this is within the Iron Council. But when I joined, geez, I don't know. I'd have to do some math.
2016, 2017.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, geez, has it been that long?
Yeah.
So when I joined that long ago, I was working for myself. I had a couple of employees, a handful of employees, and I think I was good at what I did. And the reps that I got in the Iron Council, more or less, you created opportunity for me to step into a position of leveling up that I didn't have in my life yet. And so I got to come in. I had maybe strong opinions about things. I was committed to and excited about the mission of what we're doing. And I step into a position of being a battle team leader. And there was an element of finding my voice where I felt like, man, I have something to share. And it wasn't to build myself up. And don't get me wrong, I had to check my ego because sometimes I would be building myself up. I had to re-level set a lot of times and going, wait a second, this is about my team. This is about the Iron Council. This is about something bigger. But I found opportunities to serve that I don't think I would have normally found. And that has probably been the biggest thing within the Iron Council is I've used it as a stomping ground, or I've used it as an opportunity to serve other men. And I feel most of the men that are battle team leaders or the mentors or in the leadership of the Iron Council, all of them probably did what I did. They joined the Iron Council because they wanted to improve themselves. And they have since stayed because they want to serve others. And that is probably the biggest opportunity or the biggest growth that I've gotten in the Iron Council is in the service of our fellow members.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about it quite often, Kip, is those who serve in the Iron Council, those who give the most, get the most. It's just how it goes. If you want the maximum investment in a real estate investment or a stock market portfolio, man, the more you give, the more return. And the same is true when it comes to relationships, romantic interests, the Iron Council, all of your life. A lot of guys, because I hear from them daily, are saying, oh, I'm not getting what I need. What are you giving?
Yeah. What are you doing to serve? Yeah.
Right. And the more you do that, the better off you're going to be. I'll tell you one thing that I noticed in you over the past 7 or 8 years is an increase in confidence. And I'm not going to say it's the Iron Council is exclusively
Yeah.
responsible for that, but when you're talking about opportunities to serve, obviously you and I have been doing this podcast for what, 5 years, maybe ish. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly. And then I see you sharing leadership principles in a more formalized process in the Iron Council, but then I also see you doing it on social media. Those are all developments that I've noticed in you, even just relatively recently, because you're, to your point, getting the reps in. And I think that's
Yeah.
the point. When you have a system in place and you know what it is and you know what you're supposed to be doing, then you can do it boldly and confidently. And so if we were to go back to jujitsu again, when you go into the doors the very first time, you don't know what you're doing. You're awkward. You're uncomfortable. You feel silly. You're getting beat up. You're getting banged up. And so there's no confidence there. And you don't have a right to confidence at that point. So don't even pretend
Yeah.
like you should have it. You don't deserve it yet. But then you start to learn some moves and you get confident in those particular moves and you get confident in, your position. You get confident in somebody having you in a vulnerable position and you can wait it out or reverse it or whatever it might be. But you only get that through doing the reps and being familiar with that uncomfortable circumstance and situation. So if you want to be more confident in any facet of your life, then the answer is exposure. You want to be more confident around attractive women? Go put yourself in environments with attractive women. You want to be more confident in business? Make more sales calls.
Reps.
Right?
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just do the reps and you will develop and build that confidence. And I've seen that in you. And again, I can't say that the Iron Council is to credit for all of that, but I think there has been some moments for you to step up in leadership opportunities and ways to serve that have served you well from the outside looking in.
Totally. No, absolutely. Absolutely. It has. George Mamo, this may require a lot
I'm
more.
sorry, Kip. Can I say one? Sorry, I was going to say one more thing to answer this question because I feel like I was like, just do it. One other thought that I had is I went to the gym this morning and my trainer, Johnny Loretti, he's a good friend of mine, but we met through the Iron Council. He's the one who does all my fitness programming and he got me on a new program today. We just tweaked some things and changed some things up. Well, that's a person I never would have met. I'm really happy with the results I've been experiencing in my life physically because of his training, his coaching. That's a connection I never would have made if I didn't have the Iron Council. So guys, there's opportunities. If you're like, I need to get on track of my diet or nutrition, reach out to Johnny. Or, hey, I need to learn how to be a better entrepreneur. Alan Placer is a great resource for that. There's so many great resources and channels in there that if you utilize it correctly, then you can meet people you'd never have access to, and they're going to help you because they want to serve you. That's an amazing thing. And I don't want to overlook that.
People who really care.
Right.
I maybe the little personal here, but I was talking to my wife about this actually on our drive over the weekend, how interesting it is. And I don't even remember the scenario. I was talking with someone in the Iron Council and the conversation ended up ending with, hey man, I love you. Mike, love you too. We hung up. And I was telling my wife, I'm like, it's so interesting. I was raised in a family. We don't say that to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got one of those from a parent, it was like super rare.
Yeah. Gold
That's
star.
how I was raised. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm part of a men's group and dudes that I've never even met in person that are saying those words to me. And here's the rub. It's not fake.
No, they mean it.
Yeah, they totally mean it. And I'm like, dude, how profound is that? This isn't superficial mastermind business group guys and we don't care about each other. It's genuine and it's awesome. Oh man, so awesome.
I've been thinking about that lately for some reason. The concept of I love you to another man, it feels uncomfortable. At least it does for me. Does it feel uncomfortable for you?
Naturally, but I assume that's just how I was raised.
No, I think it's just generally, I think men have a hard time expressing it that way. But here's the thing that I've been thinking about. I love you are just words. They're just noises that our bodies make. We just manipulate our mouths and our tongues and our teeth to make sounds. And then we say that sound means this. That's all words.
We all agreed on it. Yep.
So, at least I have been, I'm just trying to speak for myself, hesitant, like, it feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. but men have loved each other for thousands and thousands of years. You know, the most hardened warriors and you know, the toughest men you've ever, you know, seen or heard of, they had those types of relationships. They may not have expressed it with those exact words, but the sentiment of caring about somebody else, of wanting them to succeed, of trying to serve them, of banding together towards a common good or against a common enemy has been around since the dawn of man. And whether you call it love or brotherhood or whatever language you want to use, the concept exists, and we need more of it in our lives as men because we just don't have it enough.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, George Mamo. This may require a lot more time than one podcast to cover, but how do we as men accept grief that follows us after a woman we have loved leaves us? So I was knocking on the door of getting engaged with a woman last year, and then she delivered the hard news. Of course, it wasn't out of nowhere. And as the notion goes, women start to become more silent when they eventually leave us or lose feelings for us. But at what point do we stop wanting to win her back? I'm just going to say it 8 months later, and I still miss her. And I want to show her that I'm worthy of what she doubted in me. I haven't reached out to her for 6 months because I'm still afraid she'll give me the negative response. I'm open to whatever criticism might follow that I'm sharing. Everyone in here, please also feel free to comment and insights or experiences. Thank you.
I'm not going to criticize. I mean, I understand firsthand what that feels like. And I'm not here to tell you 8 months is too long or not enough. I don't know. We all go through different processes and we all experience it differently. This is relatively new for me, you know, with my divorce last year. There's elements of my relationship and there's parts of her that I still grieve the loss for, but it's not debilitating. And I think that's the difference. You said something that's really telling, and I want to focus on this because this is why you're not getting over her. You said, I want, and I'm paraphrasing, correct me if I got this wrong, but something like you want to prove to her that you're the man that you're capable of being, or some, read that, just that little snippet again.
Yeah, that she is doubted. Yeah, it was the exact language, sorry, is, I'm just going to say it 8 months later, and I still miss her, and I want to show her that I am worthy of what she doubted in me.
That's the problem. That right there is your hang up. If you want to show her that you're worthy of her love, then you're never going to be able to let go of it. You're hung up because of that line of thinking right there. So when we go through a loss, and specifically I'm talking about a relationship, a romantic relationship, it's very difficult. But I think one of the things that helped me the most in this moment was to go to work on myself and fix myself for myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't for her. It wasn't for my kid. At first it was, because you scramble, you get desperate. And guess what happens in desperation? You look desperate. It's repulsive.
And it's not attractive at all.
So you need to shift from proving yourself worthy of her love or affection or admiration or partnership and start shifting into, I'm going to the gym, not so I look good to other people, so that I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to invest in a new training or a new course at work, not so I can impress my boss or my clients, but that I can feel like I have more value to offer. Everything right now, I'm hesitant to say it this way. I was going to say everything right now should be about you. I don't take that with a grain of salt. I don't really mean it like that. What I'm saying here is the motive for improvement has to be purely self-development. I'm just improving myself. Now, what's going to happen is she's either going to notice and there's going to be some reconciliation process, or she's not, and you're going to be in a significantly better place. Again, let me reiterate here. There's elements of my relationship and of my ex that I grieve, but I don't have any desire to be in that relationship like I did, 18 months ago. And part of that is because I'm in a position that I feel confident about how I'm growing and how I'm improving. And I don't need any external factor to validate that for me. And it's very liberating. And so I've had a lot of people say, oh, how'd you get through this so quickly? And how'd you, because I did it for the right reason, which was self-development. And the sooner that you get to that point, I think the better off you're going to be. And not to mention, and somebody had mentioned Keith Yackey in a question that might be coming up. He's a good friend of mine. He talks a lot about building thriving marriages and rekindling the fire. It's the only play you have. The only play in the playbook for you in this moment after a breakup is what we're saying. Getting yourself right to just purely because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Anything else is going to drive her away. So that's the only thing you can do right now. And she's either going to come back and see, and you're going to reconcile, or she's not, and you're going to drive on with more confidence and probably quicker than you would had you held on to it.
Yeah. And I think some people might be listening and think, well, you know, I could play that game and I could do it for the wrong reasons and do it for her and it won't be impulsive. And you might be right. But
no,
that comes
I don't
with
think
loaded.
You're right.
Well, you could, it might sway her to some extent. But if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, then you're not being who she's looking for anyway. No. And then it's going to come up with resentment. Whenever all this effort that you're putting in is to get her back, you're just loading the gun of resentment towards her, and it's not going to meet your expectations. And then I did all this for her, and you're going to despise her for it. Like, it doesn't work that way. And it's not going to last either. You got to be who you want to be for yourself. And if she's willing to accept that through agency and freedom, not through manipulation, then awesome. And if not, then maybe you shouldn't be together anyway. Right? You don't want someone with you because you've manipulated them. You want someone with you because they chose to be with you.
I mean, I did all the manipulation tactics. It didn't feel like manipulation. It's like, do the chores and the projects around the house, you know, turn into a yes man, don't rock the boat. Those don't feel like manipulation tactics. They are. If you're doing it because you want her to respond in a way, that means you're manipulating the situation.
Yeah.
And the only pure motive is self-development, purely for self-development. And then you have to let the chips fall where they may. So I wholeheartedly agree with you on that, Kip.
And it's tough. Like, I get it, right? He's saying how long, you know, and how long is based upon you. It's based upon her, based upon her responses. I mean, it's going to be
how long,
tough.
what was it? How long, what?
Like, how long do I attempt to like win her back?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
No, there's no question. You stop that today.
Yeah. You just be you. Yeah.
Yeah. Stop that. There's no like, oh, do it for a month or do it for a year. No, you shut that off right now. You're not doing things any longer to win her back. Knock it off.
Yeah.
Do the right things for the right reason.
You're doing for yourself.
Right.
Yeah. And if that happens,
great.
To win her back, awesome. If not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I would add this as an element of hope. No, yeah, you're right. It doesn't really matter, but in a way it does, but the opposite way than what we think. I promise you, if you work on yourself and you take this time to really evaluate where you were good, where you were strong, where you fell short, and you work on shoring those up for your own development, I promise you there's another woman who will come into your life that is going to be an infinitely better dynamic and relationship. I'm not saying she's better, she's worthy of more. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the relationship is going to be so much better, and your life is going to be so much better because you did it right for the right reasons. I know that 100% to be true.
Garrett Prater, if you are absolutely committed to your marriage and love your wife, but you do not like your wife and she literally irates you at every turn.
Irritates you?
No, irates.
Irates. Okay. Guys.
At every turn.
Keep going.
How and what tactics do you suggest to turn the tide for better other than for the better, other than complete acceptance that these things that drive you crazy are not going to change. I realize this is about me and not her looking for some starters.
Yeah. So I wish I could give you the exact
You're
reference.
committed to your marriage. You
Yeah.
love her, but she's harsh to you.
Maybe we don't know.
Yeah.
He just says
Yeah.
he's irritated, right? Like
Yeah.
she does things that bother her. I don't know if she's harsh. We don't know that.
Drives you crazy. Okay.
Maybe she chews with her mouth open and that really bothers you. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I can't give you the reference on this. I wish I could. I'll have to find it. But when I was going through again, there's a lot of marriage questions today. When I was in the midst of, finalizing my divorce, I was looking into different books and materials and reading and studying up. And one of the greatest indicators, and this was a legitimate study with thousands and thousands of people, married couples, they tested. And one of the greatest indicators of a lasting, thriving marriage was very simply, does each partner look for good redeeming qualities in the other person, or do they focus on the negativity, like they don't do this or they're not good at this? And the biggest differentiating factor between successful marriages and unsuccessful marriages was each partner looks at each other optimistically and positively. These are their, because
Yeah.
we all have shitty characteristics. We
Yeah.
all do dumb things. We all sometimes, chew with our mouths open. My kids, they get frustrated every time I eat chips because they say I eat chips too loud. Like, yeah, like we're annoying. And when you're around people for, years and years, yeah, there's going to be some things that annoy you about the other person. So,
And
yeah.
and there's
And
not a person that doesn't have that list, right?
including
Like
you,
it's all, yeah,
she
it's
has a
always
list for
going to be a
you.
trade-off. Yeah.
So there's a couple things you can do here. Number one, you can just stop focusing on it. You really can. You can make that decision to say, oh, yeah, you know, she's not a great cook. Her food's kind of terrible, but I know she loves me and the kids. She comes home early or she busts her ass in the kitchen or whatever. We do dinner together every night. It's not great, but we do it. It's like focus on the positive. And the more that you focus on the positive, I think the negative will become less relevant. But also, I think you can bring those up in a tactful way too. And you'll hear guys will be like, no, those are moments like little white lies. Like there can't, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you
What do you
should be
mean?
honest. Well, like if, for example, if your wife comes into you and says, hey, hon, what do you think about this dress? And it doesn't look good on her. I don't think you should lie. I don't
Yeah.
think you should say, yeah, hon, that looks great. I love it. Because it doesn't, and you don't like it. What I would say, what I would suggest saying is, that one's not my favorite. I like that black one that you like, but that one's not my favorite. But if you like it, great. Like,
Yeah.
I would just be honest, or if she's cooking dinner and she makes a terrible meal, you don't have to blast her for it. But if she asks how it was, say, yeah, this one wasn't on like the top. It wasn't my favorite meal. I mean, I appreciate you making it for us, but you know what I really like? That chicken enchilada meal that you do.
Yeah.
Be honest. And when you're honest, like the people in my life who are honest, even if it's things I don't want to hear, I appreciate the honesty because I know when they say things that I do like to hear, they actually mean it.
Yeah.
Like if your wife, for example, will call you out on some bullshit because you didn't go to the gym this week, and she'll say, hey, hon, like you didn't go to the gym this week. What's up? And she's willing to call you on that. That takes some courage, I think. And then when she's like, hey, hon, you did a really awesome job on that project of work. Man, I'm so proud of you. I'm glad you're my husband. You can actually believe it. She's not feeding you a line because she's not, because she's willing to tell you the shitty stuff that you're doing too.
Yeah.
So that's what I want in a partner. It's not comfortable, especially when you're on the receiving end. But I think there's some tactful ways that you might bring that up. Now, you don't want to henpeck her. We hear about that, like with women doing that to guys. You don't want to like criticize every little thing she does because some things don't matter. Maybe she folds the laundry different than you and it's not as efficient as you think it is. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, really, who cares? I used to get wrapped up in that stuff because I wanted to control every little thing. I don't care how you fold the laundry. I don't care if you mop the floors the exact right way, or you don't do the dishes how I would do. That stuff's irrelevant. So figure out if it's worth even mentioning. And if it is, then bring it up in a tactful way and then focus on the positive. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah. I can't help, but there's like something more here, right, Garrett? And obviously I'm looking to do it, but when you start off like, hey, my wife does a bunch of annoying stuff, which I can relate to. There you go, Asia.
I'm gonna clip that and just send her the audio just for that.
Totally. But you started off with like, hey, I'm committed and I love her, but it's like, whoa, like, so these things are like really bothering you, right? Like, not just annoyance, but like, are they really, really bothering you? And then I'd be asking yourself, like, what are you making these things mean? Like, really? Because it might just be annoying, but maybe you're walking around with, oh, when she does that, it makes me feel unappreciated, right? Like, oh,
There's a
okay.
story to it.
There's way more going on. There's a story to it. And to be frank, and here's the trick. Here's the biggest trick. And you said it in your question. You're not going to change her. So stop that right now. Just assume that that's not even an option on the table, because we don't change people. You can ask, and maybe they might make some pivots and adjustments, but that's it. So
those are usually like little behavioral things, like, hey, hon, can you make the bed this way instead of that way? Like, those are little,
yeah,
like, people can do that for sure.
For sure. But big changes, they're not going to happen. So what you have to figure out is, okay, well, how do I deal with this? And the way you deal with it is getting really clear on why is it triggering you so bad. And I would even suggest is maybe give some thought to what you're making things mean. And you're okay sharing that. And it's really funny. I used to think that if I had a conflict with you, Ryan, that I address the conflict, but I don't share the story. I don't share the fiction or the made up story. I only share the facts, right? Mm-hmm. No, actually, this is your wife. Share the story. She needs to understand how crazy you are. And it's valuable. Now, be careful. It's not, hey, honey, you invalidate me and show me disrespect when you, no. I interpret that when you do these things, it really, I react in a certain way. I know that doesn't make sense. It's kind of crazy, but I just want to let you know. And I'm sorry for my overreaction to what you're doing. That's it. And there's some value in her understanding you're crazy a little bit. So she understands why you're overreacting when she does something weird and you start stonewalling her. So share it and trust me, there's value in the expression of it. I'm one of those people, I could be sideways, and if I just express something, I feel 100% better. But you just got to be careful on how you share it. Otherwise, you're going to come across like you're accusing her of something. Yeah. So own your world, express it, give her some insights into who you are, and get that shit figured out. Because it seems like it's a bunch more than just, she's eating with her mouth open.
I agree with about 97% of what you said.
97? Give me like 98. 98.
No, it's 97. It was actually 95, but I bumped it up to 97.
Okay.
So tell me what you think about this. I agree with the part where you say communicate the way you interpret it, because she doesn't know, and she's not doing things, likely she's not doing things to piss you off or get at you. Like, there is some of that, sure, in some instances, but for the most part, like, I don't think she's doing that to get at you. And to your point, you're making up a story. You said, like, hey, I know that this sounds crazy, and I'm sorry I feel that way. That's the part I disagree with. Because I don't think you need to apologize for it. So if it's a relationship I'm in, it would be like, hey, you said something to me, and this is what you said. And when you said it, I felt like this. It made me feel unimportant to you. And I want you to know that, because I don't think that you mean it that way, but I just want you to know how I interpret that.
Yeah, that's better. And I like that better.
I think a loving, supportive wife would say, oh, hon, I'm sorry. I actually didn't mean it that way at all. Or you know what? Here's one. Yeah, I was a little harsh. I was really tired, or, I was stressed out from the day. The kids were being obnoxious and the boss was being a jerk. And
Lashed.
I
Yeah.
took it out. Yeah, I can see how you said it that, like, it came across that way. So, yeah, I don't think you need to apologize for the way that you feel. Just be empathetic, express how you feel, and then give her, because this is the respect that she deserves, give her the respect by giving her the benefit of the doubt and then letting her explain herself too to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that much better. So we're back at 100,
So you
100% win.
came 3% my way to get to 100, right? Just want to be clear about that. I didn't
Absolutely.
go your way.
No.
Okay.
Right. And in all seriousness, that's a more powerful way of explaining that, right? Versus like, oh, I'm wrong. Like it's almost like a self-pity, what I was saying, where like, hey, this is how I interpret it. I know that probably wasn't your intention. And here's the rub too, is they're guessing if we don't express what is frustrating us. And guess what their guess probably is? That you don't respect and love her, and it's something worse than you reacting to something. And so if it goes unexpressed, the probability is it's not getting better, right?
No,
Like
no.
she's feeding into her story now because you're withdrawn, you're stonewalling her. Now she's assuming it's something else. And the assumptions are greater than probably a reality in most cases.
Well, we expect that from the women in our life, right? Think about this. Your wife's acting weird. She's being short with you. She's being moody. She's being difficult, whatever. And you say, "Hun, what's wrong?" And she says, "Nothing, I'm fine."
Yeah.
How do you is that something you appreciate?
No, translation.
No.
I hate you. You're
Yeah.
annoyed. I don't, I'm not happy
Something's
with our
You're not
marriage.
fine.
Yeah.
Like, we've been married for 15 years. Like, I know you're not fine. Like, you're not going to bullshit me on this one. Why don't you just go ahead and come out with it? That's what we would like as men, right? I think most men would agree with that. So then I think it's
That's
fair
funny.
that we offer the same. And I know a lot of guys who will avoid and they'll shut down. They'll even punish their partner by not talking to them for days at a time. Don't
Yeah.
be a dick. Like, you committed, you got to do the hard, uncomfortable thing, which is, no, I'm mad. It's okay. If you're mad at your part, like, it's okay to be mad at her. Now, the way that you express that anger is, we need to discern that, but it's okay if you're mad, but just tell her you're mad and what you're mad about in a mature way. And then let's, work through it.
Yeah. And own the reaction. Well, not own the reaction. That's not what I'm trying to say. If this has failed in the past and it starts going south, then reevaluate how we're communicating it.
How you're doing it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because people will withdraw with you in the communication because more likely in the past when they have expressed, it didn't go well. So really be mindful of how we handle the communication and the feedback in the event that she reaches out to you. It's like just sit with it. Don't
Yeah.
get all fired up. Otherwise, you're going to cut off communication for the future.
I wrote something else here too, Kip. We can train people on how they communicate with us. And the other phrase that comes to mind is, we encourage what we tolerate. And this doesn't just happen in the context of a marriage. This might be at work. Maybe a client talks to you in a way that you don't appreciate, or a boss does. If you tolerate that, you're encouraging that behavior from that person. So what you need to say is, "Hey, I'm sorry. I can see that you're upset about something right now. But one thing that you need to know is, I don't allow people to talk to me that way. Now, I'm happy to address any grievances or concerns or frustrations you might have in a mature way, but this is the way that I expect to be communicated with." That's how you train people to communicate with you. And it's crucial that you do this, or you're going to get walked on and railroaded and beat up by anybody and everyone, because that's just what people do. And I don't think it's always malicious, but they have their own lens of life they're looking at. And maybe they're having a bad day, and you're going to get the brunt end of it if you're not willing to stand up for yourself. And you should.
Totally. Well, and that's our way of setting up how that next conversation is going to go, right? when
Yeah,
something
that's what I'm
similar
saying.
might come up. And if they
You're
don't,
training
yeah,
people.
if you didn't clarify it, then they're going to probably do it again too. Right.
Right.
So,
And in that moment, I think it's actually okay to step away. So if you know, your wife is, you know, her tone or something you don't appreciate, it's, hey, hun, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there. What you're saying is important to me. And working through this is something we definitely should do. I don't like the way that you're talking to me right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and disengage. And, you know, let's revisit this when both of us have calmed down a little bit. Maybe we can talk about it tonight after the kids go to bed. How does that sound? It's perfectly acceptable.
it doesn't
But you
sound
have
great
to
at all,
come
you
back.
asshole.
And then you say, well, okay, but this is exactly what I'm saying. And
I'm
so at
just
this
joking.
point, I'm going to go ahead and disengage from the conversation. So we'll revisit it later. But then the other thing is you have to revisit it later. You can't just avoid it and run away from it because that's cowardly.
Yeah.
That's not being courageous.
Yeah.
That's being cowardly.
Yeah. All right. Benjamin Hornbuckle. I'd like to hear how you move forward when you are burnt out, you feel like everything you're doing is wrong, and you know that there's more that's about to put on your shoulders. How do you carry the weight? He said he got some feedback from guys in the Iron Council around like tactics and stuff, but one of the things that came up was self-love. And so his additional question here is, how do you give yourself that love? And how does that look like on a battle plan?
Cool. I'm just taking a couple notes. Self-love. So an analogy comes to mind for me. You know, if you're going to go on you're going to go on a long camp out. Maybe you're going to do a like a backcountry hunt, and you're going to be gone for 5 or 7 days. Well, there's an infinite number of things that you can take on that trip. You can take a sleeping bag, you can take a tent, you can take, you know, what clothes are you going to bring, what food are you going to pack, how much of it are you going to pack, how are you going to heat it, how are you going to prepare your water, clean your water, an infinite number of things. But ultimately, you can only take so much. You can't take everything. You just can't fit it and you can't carry it all. So what you have to do is you have to prioritize, right? So you're like, I need a sleeping bag. So I'm going to take this one. Now it's not as warm, but it's a lot lighter. And we're going in the summer. It's not going to be cold. I don't need to worry too much about that. So I'm going to opt for the lighter one because that's going to help me with my loadout. And so you make decisions, and some things don't make the cut. And that's it. And so when you're feeling burnt out, consider your life the backpack that you can carry on this backcountry hunt. There's only so much that can fit in. And we as men, especially if we want to produce to high levels and high degrees, we carry too much stuff. It's too much.
Yeah. Like the whole trip will fail if you try to
Everything
carry
will
too much.
fail. And you'll kill the people with you.
Yeah.
So you can do one of two things. You can leave home what you don't need, and we have to evaluate that. Maybe some things need to get cut out. Maybe the extracurricular, you know, maybe instead of doing jiu-jitsu 5 times a week, you do it 3. You know, I know that's blasphemy for you, Kip, but I'm saying like you have to make choices.
Yeah, totally.
The other thing you can do on a backcountry hunt is you can bring a mule or a pack horse. So what does that translate to in life? Delegation. Hey, I can't carry all of this. I can't do all of this. Business owners, successful business owners know this. It needs to get done. The tent needs to be brought. I can't carry it myself. Let me delegate that so that somebody else can carry that end of the deal and contribute to the camp out. But I think that's what you might be running across right now. And so what I would do is I would really just do a detailed inventory of how you spend your day and each day, if it's different, and what you're doing when, and figure out what can go. And so, what you might actually need to do is just set everything down for a minute. Like, hey, I'm just going to take a day off and I'm not going to work. I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to get a room somewhere, like whatever. I don't know. Maybe you have a room in your house, but it's a day off and you just evaluate all of that and you decide, you inventory. This stays, this goes, this delegates. I'm taking this on. I'm not doing that anymore. That's not important. And then from there, you come up with your plan of action, because there might be projects that you have to let go. And so you need to delegate those to somebody, or you need to tell people who are going to be impacted by you no longer doing something that you're no longer doing it. There's some work here that needs to be done. But that's been helpful for me, is just realizing I can't do it all. I don't want to do it all. And I'm not meant to do it all.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I love this quote. I think it's Dale Carnegie, and I've used it a couple times because I like it. I like it a lot. But it's this, he says, it's not the work that what did he say? It's not the workload that generates an employee's burnout, frustration, and resentment, but it's how they see the work that they're doing. And I really like that because I feel like in the corporate world, when employees are like, oh, I'm so burnt out, it's not like the quantity. It's not like, oh, it's because he has 40 hours of work. No, he doesn't believe in the work that he's doing, right? Like this work is like rework, it's throwaway work. Ryan's having me do this, and I know it's pointless BS that is a waste of time. It's our interpretation of the work that we're doing that creates that feeling. One, do you agree with that? But do you think that's could be at play here for Benjamin as well, where it's like, man, I feel burnt out and everything. Here he says right here, feel like everything you're doing is wrong. And I know that there's more about to be, and more of this is just coming to be placed on my shoulders. Is it, I don't know. Is there an element of like, this is feels unfair? Is that why? Do you feel unappreciated? Like, is there meaning around the work that you're doing? And that's where the burnout's coming from, not necessarily the quantity.
I like the sentiment of it, and I think
Yeah.
by framing what you're doing, I actually talked about this in last Friday's podcast, how a man finds purpose. And part of it was something that you and I talk a lot about is find significance in the work that you're currently doing, even if you
Yeah.
don't particularly enjoy it. So I agree with the sentiment. And I also think sometimes we're just doing too much.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think they're
Absolutely.
they're exclusive. I think both could exist. And so you need to figure out what it
Yeah.
is. But yeah, I do
Because
agree
to
with the
your,
sentiment of that.
yeah, I mean, to your point on your Friday field notes, it's like, well, why have purpose and meaning to the work that you're doing?
Right.
There's a different level of energy that just shows up, right? You're excited about it and all kinds of things kind of, I don't know, you get less burnout. You're less frustrated when you find purpose and meaning in what you are doing.
Well, think about this? Why do we hear stories of people with superhuman like strength in moments of, immense turmoil? Like you get into a car accident and your child is pinned in the car and there happens to be flames coming from the car. I mean, women, even men with, unreal, almost supernatural power in moments like those. Why? The motive.
Yeah.
It's like, what's motivating you? Well, your child who's going to die if you don't do something about it. And I think that goes to the point you and Dale Carnegie are making right there, which is if the motive is there, it's not going to feel like work, and you're going to be capable of doing a whole lot more than if nobody was in the car.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an issue, right? So that motive, I think, is crucial. It'll help you get past challenging circumstances.
Hmm. All right, Woody Lord. I'm just starting to go through Keith Yackey's 5 dial program, and I'm loving it. He's calling me out on shit that I do left and right. I'd like to hear if you guys have used his 5 dial system, what worked and what didn't work, and what changes did you see as a result of working that system? I'm loving the Iron Council so far. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, I mean, Keith is awesome. So I wish I knew Keith before I went through divorce. I wish I would have known more about his systems, but it's helping me in my relationship now. But the 5 dials are parent, partner, producer. I'm hoping I get this right. Producer, player, and provocateur. I think those are the 5 dials. So parent, obviously being a good parent, that's
So
attractive
it's
to
not
women.
it's not just a relationship. His 5 dial program is not just like husband and wife. It's more than that.
No, I mean, the 5 dials relate to a romantic relationship, but these are the
Okay.
areas of life that you need to be showing up in that help you be a good spouse or a good partner, somebody who's
Got it.
attractive to your partner.
Got it. Got it.
So
Okay.
being a good parent, right? A lot of times men will disengage or think that's the women's arena and like I don't need to be engaged, like she's the nurturer, she can take care of all that. But a man who's a good parent has responsibility for his kids, helps his wife parent, helps his wife packs. Like that's one thing I didn't do, like pack suitcases and things. Like why wouldn't I do that? Like I can help with those things.
Yeah.
So parenting, being a good partner, that means that, when you get home at the end of the day,
Supportive.
like you're
Yeah.
not going to just kick your feet up and make her, serve you while you just watch the game or whatever. She had a hard day too, whether she's out in the workforce or at home. She has things too. Be a partner, support her. Maybe you cook dinner tonight, or maybe you do the dishes. Heaven forbid the guy does the dishes, right? Ask her about her day, rub her feet, massage her back, whatever. Like be a good partner. What did I say was next? Let's see. We got parent, partner, producer. So actually being a man of value, like going out into the world and adding value to your neighbors and to your community and to your clients and your employees and your employer, being a producer, bringing home the bacon, not just financial provision, but spiritual, mental, emotional. You're producing more than you can consume. I actually think that's the difference between a boy and a man. Everything else stripped away, a boy consumes more than he produces, and a man produces more than he consumes. So you're going to be a producer. Next is player. Have fun. Some of you guys are in marriages that, are 10, 12, 15, 20 years old, and all the fun is stripped out. You guys don't court each other. You don't have fun sex anymore. You don't go on vacations. Like that stuff's done. There's no spontaneity. You don't even plan dates. You're like, I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Well, let's just go to Olive Garden then. No, screw that. Like be a player. Like date her, court her, take her on fun trips, make her laugh, make her smile, joke, play, tease, tickle, whatever. Like play, have fun. And then the last is provocateur, which is, it's that like X factor, right? It's that confidence, that sureness of yourself, the ability to like be romantically, physically, emotionally, mentally desirable to another woman, to your wife or your partner, because of the confidence and the swagger that you have, because you're doing all the other dials right. You're a great parent. Yeah. You're a great partner. You're producing at a high level. You're playing with your wife, and now you're a provocateur. She's provoked positively by the way that you're showing up. Sometimes it's weird because sometimes we hear this and we think, oh, this is just part of that, like that manosphere, like the get chicks, get laid type thing. I don't think that at all. I think these are just principles. Yeah. When you hear certain words, you might think it comes across like that, or you're gaming it somehow. I don't think you're gaming it. I think, again, to go to our previous point,
a byproduct.
It's a framework.
Yeah.
It's just a framework. If you hit all of these, if you're a good parent, a good partner, a high-level producer, you play with her, and you do that on a daily basis, man, I just think your relationship is going to thrive. And this is a weird podcast because I'm talking about all this relationship stuff, and I had that failed marriage, and I've had people say, oh, that, people that have failures aren't qualified to talk about it. I'll just be honest. I can talk with you about the things I wish I would have done and the things I'm doing now in a relationship. That doesn't disqualify me from sharing it. I'm just expressing what I maybe could have done better and what I'm doing now that's working.
Well, even as you go over those 5 dials, right? Like I'm thinking player, I'm like, oh man, like totally thinking hopefully Asia doesn't listen to this episode, right? Because mark my word, like birthday present. Oh, I got signed up for the 5 dial system, right? Because I don't. You know what I mean? I grind way too often. I work. And we can't go out, Ryan. Dude, I got the garage to clean. We got stuff to do, right? And I'm not as fun. You know what I mean? And I'm not making the margin for those things. And so anybody that's listening from the perspective of like, oh, you have to have it dialed in is naive to the idea that none of us have it dialed in. And that there's a level that we can improve in all things. And we need to be mindful of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take one more, Kip.
All right. Justin Bolden And he had a really long question, but I'm going to beat it up a little bit and just grab sections of it. As we get older, we begin to realize how finite time really is, and we don't have forever to make things right, make continuous mistakes, or to make the changes necessary to really start living and having a truly fulfilled life. He says he finds himself torn and personally disappointed because he's going through a separation, because he knows that the separation is due to part a lot on my shortcomings. And what steps do I advise to get out of this rut and get back into the fight of being better? Where are you able to bounce back from the feeling that you messed things up and the opportunities to make changes and needed, but failed to do so when the chances was there? Just trying to get back on my feet. At the same time, the disappointment of this separation is a very heavy burden to bear.
I know it is. And so I just want to say that, like, I empathize with what you're saying. Like, I know it is. So yeah, that's just part of the process, and it will get better. It really will. It'll get better. I wrote this down as you were talking. You cannot make things right. You can only do the right things. There's things that you've done in your relationship. You can't make those right.
Can't change.
Like, it's done. Now, there are certain things in life you can make right. Like if you, I don't know, if you take advantage of somebody, you can pay them back, right? Like you say, hey, I took advantage of you and I owe you $1,000. I screwed up. Here's your $1,000. There's things you can make right. And that's squaring it up, right? Or apologizing is an element of trying to make it right. But you can't make things right that you already did. You already did them. So if you were mean towards your wife and, belittled her, demeaned her, those things sting. Like, you've felt that from other people. That hurts. And you can't make it right. You can't say, oh, I'm sorry. And then just expect her to be like, oh yeah, okay, it's okay. Wash that out of my memory. You stop doing that. And this goes to the previous question with the guy, that we were talking about, what he could do now. And it's like, you got to stop living for her. It's the same thing. You're living in the past. You're revisiting because you think that you can make things right. You said it in how can I make things right? You cannot make things right. When you learn that and you realize that and you wrap your head around that, you're going to stop living in the past and you're going to stop doing behaviors that are repulsive to her because you're trying to win her back and make things right. And you're going to start wondering about what are the right things to do now. So you're in a separation. You're not in a divorce. What can you do now? Well, I just told you the 5 dials. If there's kids involved, be a great parent. If it's just you and her, be a great partner. Producer, develop a new skill, get a promotion, start a new business, start producing. Player, ask her to dinner. Hey, I know we're in a separation right now and I miss you. And I would love to take you for dinner. Now, she might decline. I don't know. Or she might say yes. Then if she says yes, good. Don't ask her what she wants to do. Don't ask her what she's interested in. Be the player. Players don't ask. They just make a plan and they say, here's what I'm doing. And I would like you to be there with me. So get the reservation at the restaurant she likes. Go wash the truck that you drive. Go wash it, clean it, get it detailed. Wear something nice, groom yourself. Like, don't go over. I'm not saying get a limousine and wear a tuxedo to Olive Garden. Like, do it appropriately, but clean yourself up. Tell her you're going to be there at 6 or 7 or whatever time. Go to dinner, have the table reserved, have it a place that she enjoys, she likes, and then have a plan for afterwards. You don't need to communicate that plan. I probably wouldn't, but have a plan. If you just feel it out and it's just like she's kind of apprehensive, then maybe just dinner. And that's okay. But if it's going better, then have a plan. Don't ask her, hey, I'd like to spend more time. What would you like to do? No, that's not what players do. Have a plan. Hey, you know what? Man, this was great. They have this like late night market downtown tonight. And I was thinking it'd be cool if we just went and walked around for a little bit. Would you be interested? Like, have an actual plan. And I think that's going to lead you to a better place. I'm not going to say resolution or getting back together, but it's going to lead you to a better place. But you got to be forward thinking, not backwards thinking.
Yeah. The only thing that came to mind when you're sharing your thoughts was try not to be like, oh, it didn't work. Like look at her reaction, go, oh man, it didn't work. No, no. Did you do it right?
Yes.
Yeah, I did it right. Did I
Awesome.
do that date night right? Absolutely. And then feel good in that. Did I show up powerfully? Was I valuable? Right? Am I being a good I am. And you find value in leveling up and being and having integrity with how you're showing up as a father and as a husband. Don't lay it on top of her reaction of it's not working or it's not working based upon her response. That's a very powerful way of being. And especially when you can communicate to her that, hey, babe, I'm going to make some pivots. And I want to let you know of these pivots I'm making because I realize I'm not showing up powerfully. And this is what I'm planning on improving in these areas. I just want to let you, like, it's about you. You're doing it because for you to live a fulfilled life, for you to show up powerfully as a man, this is what you're going to be doing. Not out of, well, a few things I've thought about trying to manipulate you so you like me more. You know what I mean? It goes back to what we're saying earlier. Just make it about doing it right.
But Kip, I would actually caution against telling her what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a
Where's the
debate we can
line, you
have.
think? Because
No,
sometimes I feel like if you don't tell them, then it's not going to be on their radar. So there's some value in letting them know that there's some pivots.
I don't think it's not going to
No?
be. They're watching. They're watching
Yeah.
you. They're seeing it's you're on their radar. You're either on their shit list or you're moving out of the doghouse. But you don't think
Yeah.
Asia's watching what you do just because you don't talk about it?
Yeah. It's true.
They're watching. And if
Yeah.
you start telling her the things you're going to do, you're setting yourself up in a couple different ways. Number one, you're
Because
again, you're
you're setting
manipulating.
expectations.
Well,
Yeah.
you're manipulating. You don't. Why are you telling her that? What? So she'll think you're better. So you're painting. You're not even doing anything yet. So don't stop that. You're manipulating. That's number one. That's one way you're setting yourself up. She doesn't believe you when you say, I'm going to do better because you said that before.
Yeah.
So you saying, hey, I'm going to change, hon. Like I'm going to do all these things. She's like, yep, same old Kip.
Yeah. I've heard this
Same
story.
old
Yeah.
Ryan. Yep, he hasn't changed a bit. And then the other thing you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure because, I mean, look, we all have the best of intentions, but we fall short from time to time. And if you say you're going to do something, you actually have to do it now. And if you don't do it, you're way worse than if you never would have said anything at all and didn't do it. So I think more powerfully,
Just show up.
do it. You trust me. She's watching you. She's making, if she wasn't at least interested in maybe making this work, you'd already have the divorce papers. So I think there's an opportunity here for you. I'm even hesitant to say it this way because again, this goes back to maybe like, oh, maybe if I change this right way, she'll have me back.
Wrong reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I won't say that, but it's not done. So start changing today, now. You don't need to talk to her. You don't need to tell her. You don't need to promise her things. Just do it. She'll watch you. She'll see you. But I do like what you said about the expectations. Just let it go of expectations. If you take her out and the date doesn't go as you thought, or you don't get laid, or she doesn't say, let's work this out, that's an expectation that's going to tee you up for failure. Just the expectation should be nothing. Like, hey, do you want to go out? Yes, great. Let's go to dinner and enjoy each other's company. That's it. And then you just let go of the rest. It's very liberating, to your point. It's just a powerful way to live.
Yeah.
No agenda.
Cool. Love it, brother.
Wow.
All right.
That was
as
the
always,
marriage and relationship episode.
Dude, I know. I think maybe every question almost. Yeah.
I heard that January is
things.
divorce month, like National Divorce Month. So maybe it has to do with
is
that.
It?
People, yeah.
Are you making a joke or is that a
no? I'm dead
thing?
serious. No, I'm serious. I think there's more divorces in January than any other time of year, and maybe that's getting through the holidays, or maybe people wanted to
New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, New Year, like, hey, I'm done with this. I'm out. But yeah, January is, if I understand correctly, more divorces take place in January than any other month in the year.
Interesting. All right.
So maybe it has to do with that.
Depressing.
Yeah. So Kip, you have 15 more days. You can do it.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Turn
Come on.
this boat around. Let's go. Player,
Just
here I come.
hang on for 15 more days and you're safe for 2024. You get
and then I don't have to
one
do
more year
shit for like 11 months. Yeah. Not the message we're trying to give. Yeah. That's funny. That's funny.
All right. Bring us home.
All
Kip.
right. So to learn more about the Iron Council, as always, you can go to orderofman.com/Iron Council. Enrollment's closed, but you can sign up for our Battle Ready program. That is orderofman.com/Battle Ready. Of course, you can always get your Order of Man swag at the store. That's store.orderofman.com, and follow Mr. Mickler on X and Instagram at Ryan Mickler. And some event dates coming soon.
Very soon.
Because we're not going to open up to the public quite yet, but some upcoming Order of Man events coming up.
That's right. Well, guys, we had some great questions. Hopefully we gave, as always, something for you to consider and think about, and hopefully it improves your life some way. That's what we're trying to do. So we will be back on Friday for the Friday field notes. Is that right? Yeah, Friday. Yep. The days are off. Anyways, guys, go out there, take action, become the man you are meant to be.